Welcome to week 3 of the Every Bit Counts Challenge 2025, hosted by Jessica over at Three Rivers Homestead. So the first part of this week, I had a big pumpkin harvest. I had 25 pumpkins that grew along the side of my fence. I'm going to give each grandchild one, and then I'm going to use these this fall for pies and delicious goodies. All right, after harvesting these pumpkins, I set them in my greenhouse with a fan on them, and they are going to cure out here in the greenhouse. Moving along, I picked up a rotisserie chicken at Sam's Club, and I want to make a good batch of chicken broth for soups and dishes later in the fall and winter. So I'm going to add in some turmeric, some organic sea salt, carrots, celery, and onion. But the first step is to take the meat off the bone, and we had a nice chicken lunch with part of the breast. There is a lot of meat, and it is a good value for $4.99. So I've taken the meat off. I'll show you what we're going to do with that, but I've got all the skin and bones in the crock pot. I'm going to add in my vegetables and then add in water. So I'm going to fill the crock pot all the way up. I believe this is an 8-quart crock pot. And then I'm going to add in a tablespoon of the sea salt and then just a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. And this turmeric is such a good season. It's healthy, it's delicious, and it gives it that pretty yellow color. So 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. Then we're just going to cut this on high, and I let this cook all day long. I cut it down to low, and then I let it go all night, so about 20 hours in the crock pot. Everything will be cooked to death, and you're left with a really good broth. Okay, now let me share with you what I did with the rest of that rotisserie chicken. Not only did we have one meal, and now I'm going to use the carcass and the skin to make a delicious broth. I am going to make Callie some homemade dog food. She doesn't like canned or dry dog food. So this is what I did. I cooked up 2 cups of rice, and it made a nice batch. This is enough for 7 meals for her. I did add another 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric to that rice. It's very good for dogs. There is the rotisserie chicken cut up into bite-sized pieces. I've got some little containers to pack her food in. There's a plate for her when she gets back from her beauty appointment. She is such a sweet dog, but she loves chicken and rice. So we're going to take that rotisserie chicken, put it right in the rice, stir it up. And then I'm going to put this in the refrigerator to have for her all week. Half of it I will put in the freezer. And then the rest of it she can eat every day this week. So she should be coming in the door soon, and she's going to be so excited. She was really needing a good haircut, and so I can't wait to see her. But that's one idea you can do with that $4.99 chicken. I made 7 meals, and it was little over 80 cents a meal, so you can't beat that. And it's healthier. I know what the ingredients are in it, and she loves it. So you'll see her reaction when she comes in. She looks so pretty. She's gotten all clean and clipped, and she is ready to have some lunch. All right, let's move on to the next day, and I had a ham bone left over from spring in the freezer. So I took it out, and I let it cook for about 20 hours on low in the crock pot, and I have got this beautiful, delicious ham broth that I can use in soup recipes and also when cooking dried beans like pinto beans or baby llamas. It's just a good thing to have in the freezer. Now, I am freezing all of my broths this year because of my breast cancer surgery. I cannot lift a canner, but this has worked out great. It's a lot easier, and I just take 3.5 cups per bag. You got to leave some room so that it will expand in the freezer, and then you've got a delicious healthy broth. Make sure you label your bags because you will not be able to tell ham from chicken. And so I'm going to have this in the freezer for this fall and winter, and I'm real excited about that. So first broth of the week is going to be ham broth. Okay, it's the next morning. I'm going to go take that ham broth out of the freezer and show you how I store it. And this is the reason I lay it out flat, because it stores so nicely, doesn't take up a whole lot of room. But I have this plastic container that we picked up from Lowe's, and I'm just going to stand it up in here, and I'm able to get all of these bags of ham broth into one container. And that will fit nicely in the freezer. And always make sure you label. I can't stress that enough. So that's done, and now we can move on to our chicken broth that has been cooking all night long. You can see everything has cooked to pieces, the bones, the vegetables. So we're going to strain out all of that, and then we're going to bag up that delicious chicken broth. Now I use this in Brunswick stew, and you'll see that in just a minute. And I also love to use it in all my chicken dishes, chicken and rice, any kind of chicken noodle soup or casserole. I will use this broth. So it's very important to me to keep this in the freezer so I can use it throughout the year. I love mine that I make so much better than store-bought. Again, I'm laying it out on the cookie sheet. I had already done a batch last week, so I've got plenty. And this was my Brunswick stew kits that I made. So I have chicken tenders. There's the chicken broth, baby lima beans. I have onions and celery frozen, chopped up. I've got corn and some tomatoes, and then the carrots. And all of this is going to go into a big Ziploc bag, the 2.5 gallon. So I will have 2 Brunswick stew kits ready for soup. And it's so easy. You just pack this. If you missed last week's video, I'll link it below, where I did my vegetable beef soup kits. It's so easy. And I'm going to be doing a brisket next week, and then I will put a pack of that meat in here as well to have some pork in the Brunswick stew. Brunswick stew is so good. We love it. All right, so one kit down, and then I've got another one made. Now these soup kits will make a big pot of soup, and that's the only way I know how to make soup. I cannot make a small batch, but you can always freeze it or you can share it. But I'm really excited to use these this winter. It's going to save me a lot of time and work to have everything already packaged, ready for a nice big pot of soup. All right, it's the next morning, and I'm going to be making some beef bone broth. Got my apron on, and I picked up 2 packages of really beautiful soup bones from the grocery store. If you look in your freezer section, they have these. These are still have meat in the bone and on the outside, so they're going to be perfect to make this delicious beef broth. So I'm putting these on a tray that is lined with parchment paper. I have my oven preheating at 425. I've got carrots, celery, and onions cut up. We're going to roast these for 30 minutes, and I'm going to turn the bones over after about 15 minutes. And so we're going to put that in the oven and get those nice and roasted, and it's going to be delicious. This is such a good, healthy broth for you. All right, I'm going to close up the stove. Now, you see this oyster roaster? Well, this is my second one, and this one died as well. Both have died right in the middle of cooking. So I will not be buying that brand anymore. If you know of a good big roaster brand, let me know in the comments below. But I had filled it with water, added in 2 heaping tablespoons of the sea salt, and then I had some dehydrated garlic I put in. And as soon as my vegetables finish roasting, I put them in there, and then I filled it with water. Before I went to bed, I checked it, and it was completely dead. I unplugged it, plugged it back in, could not get it to come back on, so it burned out. Like I said, I'm very disappointed in this brand, and I will not buy this again. But I had to pull out both my crock pots and a big pot and divide this up. And so 2 crock pots were going all night long, and then I had a pot I put in the refrigerator and had to switch out in the morning in a crock pot. So was a little crisis, but we got through it, and that thing is going in the garbage. But it was very frustrating. I'm so glad, though, that I checked it before I went to bed, because that would have been awful to get up and everything's cold and I would have been afraid to use it. So, pulled out the good old crock pots, and I will be looking for another roaster or a much bigger crock pot where I could do a bigger amount in. So, we've got everything in there. I'm going to put the lid on. And then the next morning, I came downstairs and both my crock pots were nice and done. It smelled so good in the house. And I'll share with you how we bag that up. It is so delicious. This is a 22-quart roaster, so I really would love to find another one. But here is my good old faithful crock pot the next morning. And the beef broth was on low all through the night, so it's cooked wonderfully. I did get 17 quarts of beef broth in the freezer, so that is going to be used mainly for my vegetable beef soup. And speaking of soup, here are some cookbooks that are my absolute favorite. I will link these in my description box below. These have some of the best recipes where I can use all these broths I made this week. So I had a really good week. It wasn't a whole lot to do. I let the crock pots do the work for me. But I'm really excited to be in this. Thank you, Jessica, for hosting this. Make sure you check out her channel and the other channels participating. Hope you all have a very blessed week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.